A Fox News alert, and as you might have heard, the Senate Judiciary Committee has released thousands of documents regarding that 2016 meeting involving Donald Trump Jr. and others, including representatives from Russia, inside Trump Tower. Joining us now, Senator James Inhofe, Republican from Oklahoma. He sits on the Armed Services Committee and chairs the subcommittee on transportation and infrastructure. Not on the Judiciary Committee, Senator, but these documents are coming out of the Judiciary. Do you want to characterize what you have heard so far of what transpired at this meeting or the testimony about it?
Well, John, oddly enough, and coincidentally, I might add, I was there in October in the Trump Tower. I was not a part of that meeting, and I don't know what all was released. And so until I see what was released, I would hesitate to talk about it. And again, as you accurately pointed out, I'm not on judiciary, and so I would kind of know when everybody else knows.
One of the things that's coming out, according to others who were in the room, is that Donald Trump Jr. said to one of the Russian representatives there, "We hear you have some information on Hillary Clinton and how money is getting funneled into her campaign." And the answer was, "No, I don't have anything on that. I'm just a Russian lawyer." Whereupon Donald Trump kind of lost interest in the meeting. That was supposed to be, you know, the whole impetus for the meeting.
Well, it could have been, John, as I say, oddly enough, I was there, but not in that meeting, and I honestly don't know what is going to, since that's breaking news right now, what is going to develop from it. I'm sorry about that.
Now, supporters of the meeting are saying this amounts to supporters of the president and the Trump campaign are saying this amounts to a great big nothing burger. Let's talk about Iran for a moment, because obviously still in the headlines. I heard that the administration had decided to slap new sanctions on a couple of Iranian officials, and I thought, what's the big deal? These are two individuals, but it turns out that Valiola Saif is the head of the central bank. Ali Tarzali works in the international division of Iran's central bank, and if you sanction those two individuals, any money that they're trying to move around the world on behalf of the Iranian government essentially gets sanctioned. Do I have that right?
Well, you have that right. A lot of people think, and I've had people call me and say, you know, does it really make any difference because you're only the Brits and the French and the Germans are not a part of this thing, so sanctions wouldn't affect them. Yes, they would affect them because anyone doing business with Iran would be going through the banks, and that would be a sanction. So it's a heavy sanction. It's one that will work, one that's overdue, and I believe that you know, if you look at what Netanyahu said just 2 weeks ago, he was very emphatic about what hasn't been done that they agreed they would do way back when this thing was put together, and I remember that so well. How many people remember today about the $1.3 billion that were passed through to Iran that I have every belief was used to advance their finance their terrorism? These things are going on, and I think we know, it's been clear. It's almost as if they're saying, well, they weren't warned of this. Well, they were warned. They were warned in October and again in January when our president said that he's reluctant to continue and to not recertify this. And of course, they were warned at that time. Now, what do they want? They want the sunset provisions they had agreed with before. That's not a part of this thing. The real inspections of the non-declared sites, that's not even mentioned. They advanced centrifuges, all these things that we were assuming. I wasn't assuming because this is back during the administration with John Kerry at the helm, so I wasn't assuming any kind of success at that time. But all these things we know that they've been doing. They have not stopped doing it, and so it's a different game in town now. We have a different. It's, you know, this president is standing behind the things that he said not only during his election, but as they've developed. And so I'm very proud of him. I think the sanctions are going to work.
So you're saying that, all right, we know that Britain, France, Germany, they still maintain relations with Iran under the framework of the JCPOA, the nuclear deal. But you're saying that if French, British, German companies want to do business with Iran, these new sanctions that have been imposed would allow the administration to sanction those companies as well?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it does affect them, and I think those three countries are very much aware of that. Obviously, they weren't quite forward enough to come out and say the same thing that I'm saying right now and that our president said. But yes, sanctions are going to affect them, and the information, or the questions that I get are you sure that they're going to actually be affecting those countries? They are going to be, and that's why the central bank is significant, because anything that's a transaction would go through the central bank.
It'll be interesting to see if they want to do business with the U.S. or with the Iranians.
Yes, that's a choice.
Senator James Inhofe, Republican of Oklahoma. Good to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you, John.